Hi, welcome back to our Revell 125th 69 Camaro SS video build. So we're going to pick up where we left off last time and we're going to clear coat the Camaro. So we've got our Pro Scale Paints 2K clear and we're going to mix up a batch of this. I have all my safety equipment on, which I'll chat about in a second. So our Pro Scale 2K is a 2-to-1 mix of clear to activator. So if you say putting in there 10 millilitres of clear, you're going to put in 5 millilitres of activator. As I always state, use a fresh pipette for every build, for every part of this. Don't contaminate the bottles by sticking them in different bottles. So there's 5 ml of activator in our 10 millilitres of clear. So completely empty the pipette, close the lid on the activator, put it out of the way, well out of the way, and then we're going to mix this together to get our mix started. There we go. So we're then going to throw that pipette away and never use it again. Like I say, do not reuse the pipette. You contaminate your 2K set and ruin it. We're then going to get our thinner and add 5% of the combined mix of thinner. So we've got 15 millilitres of clear and activator. So we need to add 5% of that would be 0.75 millilitres. So with that in there, we can mix that together as well. And again, throw a pipette away. And we're going to strain this because the activator can dry a little bit crusty around the rim, and nobody likes a crusty rim. I'd always recommend straining your 2K clear, just in case a little bit drops in or whatever, and we do sell the strainers over on ProScale. So we've got our Iwata CR5 Revolution. This is the 5mm Revolution I use. We're at about 18 PSI again, and we're going to put down our 2K. So we're going to apply a nice semi-wet coat to begin with on here. Just a nice even coat all over. We're going to do the bonnet, the mirrors, and the rear valance at the same time. And we're just getting a nice semi-wet coat all over, getting all those recesses, nooks and crannies, the wheel arches in and around the windows, just everywhere to ensure we get a nice even clear coat. Now, safety. I've got my bench vent booth on, which is a very strong air booth. I've got some full length arm gloves on my both arms. Somebody did comment on one of the videos on my birthing cattle. Yes, they are very similar. It's just an easy way of keeping your arms covered. They're cheap, easy to dispose of, easy to wear. My left hand is double gloved in nitrile gloves and my right hand single gloved. I've got a full face 3M respirator on with the applicable cartridges that are as good as going to get for 2K. We've wetted our area to stop any dust flying up, clean filter in the booth. I'm on my own in my room and I will leave the room once we're off gas. Very important steps to take with 2K. It is an isocyanate, so you don't be breathing this stuff in. But for the amount of times we use as a hobbyist, it poses no real long-term risk. It's not like we're doing it every single day. As long as you follow the precautions I'm showing here, you'll be just fine. I've been using this stuff for years, and for me it's unbeatable as a clear coat. Obviously the choice is on you what clear coat you use, but whichever one you do use, follow the safety aspects, because whether it's water based or just lacquer, there are still VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, to deal with. So with the first coat of paint done, we're on to our second, and again we're just going to apply a nice semi-wet coat evenly all over the body. We allowed the first one to flash off for 5 minutes before we came back. That way it goes super tacky and allows us to put a second wet coat down without any fear of runs. And again, nobody likes the runs. So we're just going around just trying to get a nice even second coat. We're not trying to get that flawless gloss coat off that. This will come from our third and maybe if required fourth coat coming up. So as you can see, we're getting some nice coverage. I'm leaving a wet edge and following it with every subsequent coat. And then again, we're doing the bonnet, the valance, the spoiler, and the mirrors at the exact same time. I've also got my plastic box to the left to put everything in to try and keep it as dust-free as possible. So it's a plastic box with a drop down front with a couple of holes in the side with some mesh on to stop the dust getting in there. And like I say, just being thorough and getting nice even coats. Now, the further you get into this, the stickier that left hand is going to get. It's getting 2K on it, which is going to get ultra tacky, so be careful of parts sticking to you. The amount of times I put a part down and it's come back with me when I've lifted my hand back up, so be very careful at this stage. So while that's flashing off, we're going to thin our 2K a little bit more. Now, I had to mix a new batch. I actually ran out. So it's the original mix we started with, but I've thinned it a further 10%. So there's about 15% thinner in here now. If you've got mix left over from what you're currently using, I would just add another 10% of thinner to that. And that will drastically thin the 2K. And when doing our last coat here now, the 2K will self-level absolutely beautifully into our nice foundation of nice tack coats we already put down previously. So I've tested all the different ways of using our 2K, and this one is the most beneficial and it works the best. So I'm just going around putting a nice even coat down. I'm going to pop it back in the plastic box just for 90 seconds or so while I spray the rest of the parts. While I'm doing these, that will self-level nicely, and we can take it back out and have a look if we need any more. If we do need more, again, we'll just go around until we're happy. Now, I can't stress this enough. How this looks when you're finished is how it's going to dry. If it's got orange peel in it, it's going to dry that way. You don't want it to dry that way, so push it a little bit further by putting a little bit more 2K down. Don't be afraid of putting a bit more down. The Pro Scale 2K is especially forgiving. It is by far the most forgiving one I have used. I've had no runs off this at all yet. And what we want to do, if you spot anywhere that's not glass-like, is just put a little bit more 2K down. It doesn't take a lot. It will self-level out and it'll go as crystal clear as glass. And that's what you like, because that's how it will dry, and it will save you a lot of heartache later in sanding and polishing. Because if you let that sit for another 5 minutes and pull it back out and have a look, we've got a beautiful glass-like clear coat all over that body, looking absolutely beautiful. I'm using my light and my boot to have a good look around everything. I've got a few specks of dust, which is inevitable. Not too bothered about those, but how beautiful is that yellow looking now? Absolutely stunning. So once we're happy, put everything away and clean our airbrush. Lacquer thinner cleans the airbrush out just fine. Make sure you're thorough though, because you don't want to leave any 2K in there, because it could potentially block your airbrush. Now onto one of my most hated parts, which is part cleanup. So we've got every part off the sprue that we require. Now with this kit, there are multiple parts, so check through instructions which part you actually need. We're going to assemble as much of the engine as possible, which on this one's basically the two halves of the engine and transmission, and just glue it together with some Tamiya extra thin, and everything else is going to be cleaned up with some UMP sanders. We're going to clean up all the sprue points, any seam lines, any flash, which there isn't a lot on this kit. There's a lot of parts here. This is a few hours work, but again, time well spent because it will show in the end result. So again, get some music on, your favourite podcast, with YouTube, chat with friends, whatever you're doing, something to while away the time. And just take your time working your way around, being nice and thorough until you're happy all the parts are cleaned up. This is probably one of my most hated parts of modelling, because it's just a step, because I model so much, I'm forever doing. Now the exhaust tips, we're going to drill out a little bit with a pin vise and drill bit just to open them up. So my advice would be drill the centre with a small bit to get the centre point, and then find a drill bit of the correct size that you want the exhaust, just to lightly drill it out until you're happy. And again, a step well worth doing, because it does add a lot of realism. It does add quite a bit of realism to the model. Now we're going to dechrome these parts, and I'm literally going to do this in real time. That is Domestos bleach. And for me, 9 times out of 10, this is the best way of stripping chrome. And this is in real time. You can watch this literally disappear before your eyes in less than 60 seconds. You can see it disappearing. It is like magic. Once it's stripped it all off, we'll rinse every part in water, dry it all off, and again rinse in water again, and then we're ready to clean up and primer these parts. And we're going to use the Pro Scale chrome system on these, which is far superior than the awful kit chrome. So there you go, that's that stripped, nice and easy. And as you can see, it does leave like a yellow tinge of a clear coat that the manufacturer puts down originally. That's not going to bother us. We're just going to clean up any sprue points, any seams, which they do leave in at Revell. So they chrome over the seams and the sprue points, which is ridiculous. So that's probably it's primarily the main reason why we're going to dechrome and rechrome it. So again, just part clean up, go around, clean all these up, And then we're going to mount everything with a combination of cocktail sticks and super glue in an inconspicuous spot, or a bit of white tack inside a part, or a hole drilled, or clamps to hold things in place. Like I've got here, got a bulldog clip holding the chassis in place. And then we're going to prime everything. So all these parts are going to be primed in a mixture of Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black and Tamiya Fine Surface Primer. I think it's grey I use on this one. So just a couple of coats of the the Mr. Surfacer 1500 all around. This is thinned with Mr. Hobby Level and Thinner. Really nice primer. And again, all of the seats and the interior, we're going to go around with the black. Now, I don't use Pro Scale for a reason. Because our primer is a microfiller, it would require sanding, or does it leave a texture? So the Pro Scale is ideal for car bodies. For this, I would recommend, for now, until we get something on our own stock, Tamiya and Mr. Hobby are excellent primers for this. So these are all the parts we de-chromed earlier, and we're going to paint these black. So this is the first step of the Pro Scale chrome system. Now, there is a standalone video on using our chrome system on the site. You can go and have a look at that. It's basically a primer coat of black or black paint first, then 2K, let the 2K dry, then the chrome, let the chrome dry, then the sealer, let the sealer dry, and a final coat of 2K again. It sounds long-winded, it's not, and you're left with a virtually indestructible 2K covered chrome that you can handle, has nice high shine to it, and yeah, well worth the time doing. Engines painted in Tamiya white surface primer, my bad, I thought I used grey. While all that's drying, we're going to work on the body. Now, there was a bit of a gap between this build, so it was about a week before we got to this stage. Very quickly, time passes when you're building multiple things. So we're going to flat back our 2K. So the 2K has been cured for about a week. 5 to 7 days is optimal for sanding. It just makes it sand a lot easier. While it's touch dry in 4 hours, it does take a little bit longer to fully cure, but it's by far faster than other clear coats. I've used lacquer clear coats before that take weeks to fully dry, and while it may feel dry, it's noticeable when sanding and polishing because the scratches are hard to remove. Because the clear coat's not fully dry, it's very hard to remove the scratches. So it's up to you what clear coat you use. 2K is by far the easiest. It's an instant result. It looks phenomenal at the airbrush. It's very easy to sand. It's very responsive to sanding as well, and it polishes up a treat. Any other lacquer thinner clears I've used before, they just never polish up as well. They take a lot longer to dry. They're not quicker in any way, shape or form than using 2K. This is by far the quickest, most efficient way of clear coating. So we've got some 3M Trizic pads here. We've got a 6 and an 8000. We've got some washing up liquid in our water, and we're going to go around flat all the body. Once that's done, we've got our Zoom On polishing sponges here and some Menzerner compounds to polish it all up. So we're sanding all the body to remove any dust spots that may have landed in, like I pointed out earlier. And also just to thin the 2K a little bit to lose that real thickness you get. So we've got some Menzerner 2500 and 3500 compounds here. I put some on my finger. I'm just going to rub it on. The reason I do this is if you put it on the polishing pad, you can flick it everywhere. So it's easier to do it this way rather than literally making everything look like a Jackson Pollock around your house. So just a nice even coat all over. Then we've got our Proxon with the coarse compound sponging to begin with, to go with the coarser compound polish. And here we go. So be careful with this tool. You don't want to press too hard for a start because we're not, manhandling this thing. We're letting the polish head do the job. And be careful you don't catch the body with that yellow part of that tool. That is hard plastic and it will scratch or take paint off. So be very, very careful. I would recommend wrapping it in a bit of black electrical tape just to soften the edges a little bit. But all we're going to do now is slowly work our way around and polish back all this beautiful 2K to a lovely high shine. And oh my god, does this car come out well. This one is one of my best paint jobs I think I've ever done. The Menzerner compounds with the polishing pads from Zoom On, which we stock at Pro Scale. We've got loads of these in stock at the minute. They do a phenomenal job of polishing this back. The 3M pads do a great job of flattening back that 2K as well. And I say this every time now. I resisted using these polishing sponges for so long out of sheer stubbornness. And what a game changer they are. If you've never used them before, I'd highly recommend trying them. It just saves time. What would take 3 hours takes less than an hour now. The result is much better. It beats hand polishing by a long way. But just be aware of any raised areas or any corners where the paint's going to be inherently thinner. And like I say, just watch that hard plastic the other tool. Look at that. This is a coarse compound and a coarse sponge. So this is just going to get better and better as we work our way down through the consistencies and grit of the polishes. Look at that shine we've already got back off that one. Absolutely phenomenal. So we're literally going to go over every inch of the car, including the bonnet, the spoiler, the mirrors, the rear valance, and just polish everything up to a beautiful high shine. And we're going to work our way through the compounded sponges as well. So all along the sides as well. And again, just be careful of any edges. The paint's always going to be thinner on an edge or a corner. So just really take your time. Now, I am working on a series of videos revisiting the Subaru build I did many moons ago on literally a step-by-step guide on how to build a model. So I will show this process in full in one of those videos. I'm hoping to start that pretty soon. It'll be a series of about 17 videos on the 2005 Monte Carlo Subaru from Tamiya. It'll literally revisit the video series I made 6 years ago, and I'll literally focus on each aspect of modeling a model car from beginning to the end, and hopefully some people find that useful. Like I say, I will cover this in depth as well as a few other areas as well along the way. So like I say, just be very careful doing this, make sure you don't catch anything, just take your time. Definitely something to do while not being distracted, so make sure you've got no one nattering to you or family members running around, because things can go wrong really quickly with the power tools like this. So just really take your time. And again, once we polish this off, absolutely beautiful shine, even just off this coarse compound. The shine's coming back absolutely beautiful. The Menzerna compound's really nice with a polishing tool. If you're not going to use the sponges or a rotary tool, I'd recommend the UMP ones. They work very well for hand polishing. But yeah, this is just coming up absolutely beautiful. You are going to get polish in all the recesses, so having an old toothbrush in hand is beneficial as well. And we will jet wash this off later with some water and an airbrush to remove all the gunk in between all the panel lines and what have you. But there we go, coming up well. So this is now the medium sponge and the medium compound from Menzerna, and we're going to do exactly the same again, work our way around the body. So this is a much softer sponge. You can see how much easier it compresses, so it's not as aggressive, and neither is the compound itself. And what we're doing is we're just gradually removing the imperfections and the slight scratches left from the polish, the sanding stage, step by step with a less aggressive polish each time we go through. So this will improve the shine each time until on our final step, you can see how soft the final red sponge is. We've got some Autoglim Super Resin Polish, which is a classic polish in the UK, just as a final buff over. And boy, does this body come out well. Absolutely stunning this thing is. Really does come out well. Very happy with this one. So glad I changed the colour from the green to the yellow, because I think it just suits this car so much better. I think it really does. And there we go. Once we're happy, we get all the panel lines cleaned out with our toothbrush, anywhere and everywhere that can hold it. We're going to get as much out as we possibly can now. And then we'll give it a final buff up with our cloth. And then it's going to go to the spray booth. I've got a cheap Fenger airbrush I bought off Amazon for about £12. I use that solely with water in, and through the compressor it just jet washes all the panel lines and gets rid of any residue out of it, and then we can dry it off. And again, nice easy way of getting all the residue off. But just look at the shine off this thing. She looks absolutely stunning. The black and yellow just looks absolutely amazing. The Pro Scale Daytona yellow, the 2K, just looking absolutely phenomenal. Really is looking phenomenal. Beautiful shine, beautiful masking. Really happy with that masking job. I think she's looking good. Very good. And a quick test fit with the bonnet. Look at that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So like I say, just take your time here. The better job you do, the better your finish you have. And this is what the preparation of all that paintwork has paid off now, because we've got near flawless paint. Beautiful masking, beautiful 2K. And if you look at that shine, I think I show outside my window, the light's off. So there you go, there's my window in there. Absolutely stunning. Oh, there goes the bonnet. Yeah, very happy with this paint job. It's turned out beautiful. Yeah, can't fault that at all. So what we're going to do now, we'll take that to the spray booth. I don't think I actually show it. I might have had a little bit of footage in here. Load up a airbrush. Make sure it is water. Don't be picking up lacquer thinner, for the love of God. And we're just going to jet wash every panel just to remove any residue. Now, over in the paint booth, we've got some General Motors Engine Orange, which, believe it or not, we're going to use on the engine. We're going to put several coats of this down to get our nice orange colour down on our engine. So we do a lot of the engine colours for the US cars over on ProScale. So go on over and have a look. There's a drop down section for them specifically. And if you've ever got any requests, let me know. I can get them added to the site. Even if it's a paint you're not after, if it's a suggestion of an engine colour we don't have, give me a shout. Let me know. Because there's not a lot of choice for American colours in the UK. So it's something I'm definitely striving to add. And after several coats, probably about 4 or 5 light coats of the engine orange, we've got a beautiful orange engine. We'll paint up our transmissions separately later. I always brush paint them just for ease. But yeah, lovely GM engine orange colour there. Looking good. And then we can paint everything else up. So we've got the drive shaft, prop shaft, which we're painting up. I think this is ProScale steel. Just a couple of light coats on metallics, beautifully pigmented, lay down, absolutely stunning. And we've got stainless steel, which I think we're going to use on the exhaust. Again, another beautiful colour. Just nice light coats, building them up. It looks like I'm putting a lot down. It's just a speed eye spray. I do this day out, day in for a living. You guys, just take your time a bit more. It's a case of do as I say, not as I do. I do this every day, so spraying to me is just second nature. You can see just how well those metallics cover. I will put a couple of coats down on here myself, just to make sure you get the coverage. Looks like I'm spraying a lot of paint. There's barely anything going down there at all. Just build it up nice and slow, let it flash off, and then bring it back for another coat. And as you can see, we've got all the other engine components painted up. The exhaust are being painted up, our leaf sprung suspension's done. Going together really well. You see the difference in drilling our exhaust has made as well there as well. So there are side entry exhausts on this, which is pretty cool. It's one thing that drew me to the car. I thought they looked pretty cool on the side. Now, obviously, I know nothing about these cars. We don't get these cars. We never really have got these cars in the UK. I know nothing about them at all. I just appreciate the cars, the colours. The interior, we've gone with jet black leather, which will basically simulate the vinyl colour for the interior. And again, like I say, we built this kit before. There was no real dramas of anything other than the body being really tight, which hopefully we've remedied this time by leaving the valance off. But we've got the seats, the door cards, and the rear bench seat done as well. And we'll add a little bit of detail to these later on. But pretty much standard black on black, typical muscle car interior. Nice and easily done. And then we've got some LP5 now, semi-gloss black on all the other parts as well. So again, just a staple paint, nice semi-gloss black. A couple of light coats on anything and everything that needs to be this colour. Using the Tamiya LP range. LP paints are beautiful. Do have a bit of a potent smell to them. Now, I'm not a big fan of the smell of LPs. It is admittedly better than Mr. Hobby. But after using our paints for such a long time, I do find the Tamiya smell pretty nasty nowadays. But as a semi-gloss black, it works really well. So obviously everyone's going to have their own colour choices on the running gear and the suspension on these cars. For me, I've just gone semi-gloss black for the most part of it. Just happy with this colour. Obviously, you're going to do your own colours. You might do the overspray on the chassis underneath. I'm not going to do that. This is my build of this car, and it's how I'd want it if I was going to buy it or get it built for myself. So yeah, anything and everything that's black that isn't required to be another colour is going to be Tamiya semi-gloss black. Now, the next step we're going to do is 2K all our chrome parts before they're chromed. So this is just a normal mix of 2K Pro Scale, and exactly the same way we do all the other parts with 2K, 2 light coats or 2 semi-wet coats, and thin it, and a final wet coat, and then we can leave that for at least 4 hours before we come back for our chrome. So that's it. We're going to leave that here today to end of part 2. We'll be back very soon for part 3. Thanks for watching today. As always, the Patreon link is in the description down below. You can get early access to all the videos, an exclusive Sunday bench update, 10% off Pro Scale paints. You'll be added to a Facebook supporter chat and group, and there's a few other perks as well. And there's also links to everything else in the description associated with myself. And as always, thanks to all my current patrons whose name's going to flash up on screen right now. So thanks a lot, everyone. Catch you in part 3. Take care. Bye-bye.